There are videos where I already know the comic I'm picking, or like I'm specifically choosing to do a comic because I already read it and I like it, and then there are episodes where I don't really know much about the comic, or I just never read it. This is one of those episodes. I've seen this movie years ago, and I own maybe 1 or 2 of the issues of like Chaos Quarterly from the 90s, and I've read about her in issues of Wizard magazine, but I have never actually read Lady Death. So I've never really been a Lady Death fan, although at the height of the opulence and hedonism of the 90s trading card boom, I did collect all of the Chromium Lady Death card set. But I mean, come on, they're all just so shiny. Lady Death is the poster child for the bad girl era in comics. There's really zero reason for her to have them things, except for sales. I mean, she's the goddess of death, and if she wants to dress like a Hot Topic Victoria's Secret crossover, who am I to argue with her? And it should be noted that the 4th and 5th issue of her own comic that came out were a swimsuit special and a lingerie special, most of which were reprinted in the Chromium card set. So her first appearance is in 1993 and was in Evil Ernie, the breakout Chaos Comics series. Evil Ernie is the birth of Chaos Comics. The first miniseries was published by Eternal before Chaos took over, but Evil Ernie, Lady Death, Purgatory, they are all the bread and butter of the Chaos universe. That series, and many afterwards, would be written and drawn by Brian Pulido and Stephen Hughes, respectively. Evil Ernie is an undead psycho who'd been abused by his parents and is brought back from the dead by Lady Death, who wants him to kill everybody on Earth. So Lady Death starts off as a side character from Evil Ernie, and then right afterwards she gets her own miniseries telling us her origin story. Chaos has a theme going across its book. It's a heavy metal, horror, demons and monsters and babes kind of vibe. Like, every page is living in the cover of a heavy metal album. Like, they even published series for different bands like Megadeth and Insane Clown Posse. I own the Megadeth one. It's a cool collection of short stories based on the lyrics to specific songs by Megadeth. I actually wanted to bring it out for this video, but I couldn't find it on the shelf behind me. I bought that, I'll put it up on the screen. I bought this before I owned my own store, and at some point I thought it would sell, so I brought it to the shop because I was just like, oh, I don't have enough room for all the stuff in my house, you know how that is, and I'm just gonna thin it out. So I brought it to the shop and I put it out on the shelf. And then I swear to God, like 10 years later, I was restocking something and I saw it on the shelf, and I was so shocked that nobody bought it in 10 years and it's been out of print, so I brought it back home again, which is why it's not where I thought it was, but funny side note. So for this video, I read the very first miniseries of Lady Death and a few other one-shot issues. The miniseries gives us the backstory of how she fell into hell, starting as a young woman named Hope with her evil and ambitious warlord father, Matthias, and how she's damned to being in hell and killing Lucifer. We get to meet other characters like Cremator? I don't know. He's a blacksmith in hell, and the court jester of hell named Pagan. I think the entire appeal of the character and Chaos as a publisher is rooted in the artwork of Stephen Hughes. Hughes seems like the kind of guy that you knew in high school that you wanted to draw all over your binders, like the kind of dude that was always doodling skulls and demons in sketchbooks, and Lady Death and Evil Ernie are the perfect extension of that. And it's got to have been pretty exciting to see a publisher like Chaos pop up in an industry beaten over the head with superheroes, and to have such a clear brand identity and tastes. Like, they could really like niche down to connect with that crowd of people. Hughes passed away in 2000, and there have been many artists while he was alive and since that have drawn Lady Death, and even if the artist was more technically skilled than Hughes, probably more professional and polished, in my opinion, I actually think that kind of takes a little something away from the world of Chaos. Stephen Hughes is one of those pivotal artists that can define a publisher, like Michael Turner at Aspen, and I think that Hughes' name should be spoken of more often in the comics world.
Such as we fear Lucifer's wrath.
Fear. I know not the meaning of fear.
Now the movie. So in 2004, there's this animated direct-to-video release of a Lady Death movie. Long after the hype of the character had faded away, post-90s, and while I think the product is serviceable, it's like functional, it's certainly there, it didn't really serve to reignite fervor for Lady Death in the pop culture sphere. The animation's choppy and cheap feeling, and because the story of the original comic is pretty simple, the plot isn't hugely grabbing without the spectacle of crazy animated sequences, and overall, there isn't the presentation of bleeding-edge cool like there was in, say, Afro Samurai that forgives mild plot dynamics. Instead, this is for fans of Heavy Metal 2000. In fact, I think a similar style soundtrack of metal fan favorites would have given the film a little boost with the kinds of people who would likely be interested, and I'm sure the budget just wasn't going to be there for that. Still, the story and tone and designs are all pretty faithful to the comic. The blueprint laid out by Polito and Hughes was followed, even if the final product was somewhat lackluster. So there you go, Lady Death in comic and animated form. There's always rumors about a live-action movie, which feels like a real long shot. Back in the 90s, Wizard ran a casting couch session. Yes, they really unironically called it that. And in the BADGIRLS special, they had cast now-deceased Playboy playmate Anna Nicole Smith for the lead. Do you think they could even make a live-action Lady Death movie today? And who would you cast in it? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys next week.